Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 12 today for the British Grand Prix, and a very important episode in this first season. It's the very first time we get to either renew or change our teammate. We signed Mick Schumacher at the very start of this career mode, and now his contract is up. For 6 months we had him, and you guys have been voting. Obviously, this series, I've said, you guys are my board of directors, so when there are big decisions to make, I will get you guys to vote so you can feel really a part of the team and the series. And you guys have voted to change our teammate and go with Jack Aitken. There were the choices of Jack Aitken, Nick de Vries, or sticking with Schumacher, as those were the three drivers I had my eyes on, essentially. And Aitken is the kind of, as I thought, the kind of option of the, saving money, but also still getting a pretty okay driver. Overall, 67. Obviously, that doesn't include his actual pace. You can see there, pace-wise, we're going to lose some pace with Aitken compared to Schumacher, 2 to be exact. But you can see we're gaining so much awareness from him on track, so that might help him in certain situations. So as you, the board of directors, have voted, we're going to go into negotiations then with Jack Aitken and see if we can sign him and get a deal done.
Here, you can make an offer to your driver. The more you offer, the greater the chance of them agreeing to it. But be careful not to insult drivers though. If you do, they might refuse to deal with you anymore in this negotiation period.
So I really like this. A lot like Motorsport Manager, there's a negotiation to do, and we can lowball him or play it really safe and offer him more money than technically he's worth. And he also has demands of what he wants from the team, i.e. the kind of team acclaim level and things like that. So you can see here, Aitken wants a team with a claim level of higher than 7 and wants 1.5 million at the salary. So I thought, because our acclaim level is 10, a whole 3 levels higher than the acclaim level that he wants from a team he's joining, I went for it. I risked it for a chocolate biscuit. I thought we could lowball him, as I do many times. If you've watched my Motorsport Manager series, I try and lowball and cut costs wherever we can, basically, when it comes to managing F1 teams. I tried it, and it unfortunately failed. We could not negotiate with him at that lower rate, so that's not the end of the world. You can go back again and renegotiate again the following day in the calendar. It just means that we're going to have to pay that little bit more now to secure him properly on that middle level offer. So we're going to have to come back to that in a sec. Before we get to that renegotiation, we'll go through the day planner and activity timeline and kind of plan everything out. So you can see here we've got that kind of restriction of, we've got an invitational event and also the contract renewal of Schumacher's coming the next day. So that's going to block out 2 days, unfortunately. So a bit awkward in terms of we can't efficiently fill out the timeline there, but we're doing the best job we can with a sponsor advertisement and driver promotion filming, which is actually, I believe that's for my driver, to improve the claim level of my personal driver. But we go through into the next day, then we're renegotiating with Aitken. We're going for that middle offer. It's now 1.54 million, not 1.5. So little bit annoying that we had to pay that little bit extra for that due to my lowballing. But obviously you live and learn. It's the very first time we're doing this on the game. I really hope that the mechanism in the game does allow you to eventually successfully lowball drivers. It'd be kind of a shame if you always get rejected and that's just a hidden thing in the coding. I hope that you can actually successfully do that at some point. I would love to try and do that just to kind of prove that in a way. But here we are then. On the right hand side, our brand new teammate and driver, Jack Aitken. All British lineup now going towards the British Grand Prix. It's almost like it was meant to be in a way. But hope you guys are happy with the decision. Obviously, some of you who voted the other choices, I would say sound off in the comments below against your other fellow board of directors, basically, because like I said, that was your decision and that's the one we went with. So now we go forward then in towards this episode, and before we get to the kind of actual other admin of the car, R&D and such, we're going to show off our brand new one-off race livery for the British Grand Prix. We did this for the Monaco GP, and in that video I asked you guys, would it be a cool idea to do that for the British Grand Prix, seeing as it's my home Grand Prix, the team's home Grand Prix essentially, because it's obviously my team. So here we are. We've got a one-off Union Jack livery, but in the colours, crucially, of our team. We've got like a whitish chrome silver base, accents of black, and then also that neon Brawn GP yellow and green. And I think it looks really exquisite. And as a British Grand Prix livery goes for our team colours, I think that looks really awesome. Gives me proper Jensen Button vibes as well, seeing a Union Jack in those colours as he kind of has. And also as a nice little Easter egg as well, I've changed for one race only as well, the overalls to a very cool kind of tuxedo look, kind of mimicking what Red Bull did in 2019, I think it was, when they did a 007 kind of sponsorship with some tuxedo overalls. So nice little touch there. But we now go through the timeline and we're going through towards this invitational event, which we are going to do because, of course, invitational events on this year's game are actually very useful. You get a claim, you get extra cash for it. So it was a simple time attack thing around the short Japanese Grand Prix layout in an old McLaren, just trying to do 3 laps under the time limit. We successfully do that, and so we get some extra acclaim and also a little bit of cash. Not that much, but it's still a little bit. Every little helps. And now we can fully focus on the rest of the activities, building up to the British Grand Prix, and then also looking at the R&D a little bit. And annoyingly, I mistakenly thought that both major air updates were going to be in time for this weekend. I misread it. The rear wing is actually going to take just a little bit longer. Literally, I think the next day after the weekend is over, the rear wing will get done. So that's still in development. So we only have one major upgrade on the car coming, front downforce. It's still a really positive step forward, but would have loved to have a double whammy. Unfortunately not. It's having to wait a little bit longer. And hopefully also we're going to purchase another upgrade on the car later in the middle of this race weekend. But before we get towards the race weekend, we have a decent amount of cash now. We got some extra income, obviously, having gone through that week. So now we've got over $5 million in the bank. And like I said, I've always stated, marketing, I think it's very important. I think in the long term, it will get us more money over the next few seasons to have this, because it means the sponsor activities are better, and then also you get more acclaim level, which obviously gets you better sponsors, better money, better perks and whatnot, when that all comes with it. So we've gone ahead and purchased that. Now we can relax easy. The rest of the upgrades we do for the season, the HQ, will be on certain bits of the car. Aero, chassis, engine department. I saw a few of you in the last few episodes maybe questioning this way to go about things, but if you think about it, what's holding us back is not the HQs. It's just having enough R&D points and spending them, and that's not down to the HQs. That's down to me. I've been simulating the practice programs to ensure I can upload these videos daily, plus a second video every single day since launch pretty much. But now I'm probably going to stop the second videos every single day, probably going to next week, and that will maybe give me some more time to actually do the practice programs like you're seeing right now, and that will give us an extra 200 to 300 R&D points every single episode. Like, that's no joke. That's how much R&D we've been losing by simulating the program. So that's on me, but obviously that's a kind of choice I have to make as a video content creator of, efficiently recording episodes and getting them out at the same time. But we go through the race weekend. We do get enough R&D points to purchase an engine power upgrade, the first one in a while now. So for next episode, we will have a major rear wing upgrade and a major engine upgrade. Hopefully, if those two don't fail. That's a big if, but hopefully they don't fail. So that will be a big step forward next episode. Looking forward to that one. Here this weekend, honestly, just because of one major front downforce upgrade, it's going to be a tough time. Silverstone, I think it is going to be a very hard race on this game. The AI are going to be so good with ERS and in a straight line, and also you need downforce. And at the moment, our car is now at this awkward stage where we've added downforce, but now that's made the car quite draggy, and the engine power, since we haven't upgraded that in a while, it's not enough to counteract that drag. So we're in this kind of weird mesh of our car. It basically has been going backwards. Last episode was a clear indication of how much we had to rely on other cars to pull us along with DRS through the race. So meanwhile, whilst I've been discussing that, ironically, we do make it through into Q2 in the background, but there is a rather large caveat to all of this. Now, you would have maybe got an inkling of what I'm about to talk about if you follow me on Twitter, but we hit a major issue, guys, with the game. The game basically broke a little bit on me, and for a hot minute, I was actually so panicked that we were going to lose this entire career mode save and series for a bit, because essentially what happened was, as we go through, there's no point me commentating what you're seeing in the background, because it doesn't really matter, because it's not going to count. But basically, we go through Q2, we qualify, we actually obviously didn't make it through into Q3, but we qualified pretty high, P14 it was, and the session was actually really weird. A load of top cars got knocked out, so I was thinking, oh wow, this is really awesome. We've got Bottas, Albon, Leclerc out at Q2. I'm ahead of both AlphaTauris. The Renaults, though, Ocon's way ahead, so this is going to be a mad episode, you know, bonkers race where people are catching back the pack, and we might be able to follow people through. But then we hit a major, essentially game-breaking, for me at least, bug in the game that, thankfully, Codemasters, I've told them about it, they are looking into it, and they've been able to look into a fix for it, so it will hopefully get patched out and won't, you know, affect some of you guys maybe. But what I personally got here was, I was being loaded into a Q3 session that I didn't make. So the game was trying to put me in Q3, but I have not qualified in Q3. So what happened was it just got stuck at this black loading screen where it saved my game, and then was just loading and loading and loading, but loading into nothing. Thankfully, like an hour before I started recording this entire episode, I actually backed up my save locally, and so I reset my save to just before the British Grand Prix. I had to redo all the admin you just saw me talk about for 7 minutes, and then we got knocked out in Q1, and I was like, okay, so that's fine. Okay, we performed a little bit worse, but we're at least knocked out, and hopefully we'll make it through. No, it did the same thing, loading into Q3. So essentially, what I've had to do now, as you can see, we're going to a one-shot qualifying, and this is the guaranteed way we'll get around this game bug of it trying to load us into Q3 in a full qualifying session. So that's just the explainer. Obviously, I wanted to be completely honest with what's gone on here. So everything you saw in the first part of the video, I redid all of that to the best of my ability, exactly how, but there were a few little nuances here and there. The biggest thing was the fact that I lost all my practice laps because I spent like an hour wrecking my head over this, and there was no way I was going to redo every single practice lap. So we probably won't be getting a big bonus at the end of this episode in terms of money payout, because I won't get over 100 laps for that brand new sponsor we just signed last episode. And just to compound the issues we've been having with this entire episode and race weekend, if you look at the bottom right, the engine's worn. That's because I forgot to change my components out, because when I saved and backed up my save, I had my components as worn out ones ready for practice, ready to use in practice, because obviously that's the best way to do it. You know, you use the worn components in practice and then use the fresher ones in quali in the race. So I qualified in this one shot with worn engine components and qualified P20, just ahead of Jack Aiken. So that is where we are actually going to be after qualifying. We did thankfully load through into the race, and because I was P20, I took the executive decision to take a load of penalties, a whole column worth on the engine side. We may as well. We're only going to lose 2 positions here. So we're going to start at the very back of the grids at our home race. So in many ways, this is a classic Formula 1, you know, way of doing things. You know, in Formula 1, it's a very cruel sport. There's not many fairy tales that happen in Formula 1 like they kind of do in football a lot of the times. You know, in F1, when it's a driver's home Grand Prix or a special occasion Grand Prix, more than often than not, things go wrong, and there's no fairy tale ending. And so for us, this is the case. You know, home Grand Prix, signing a British driver, special one-off Union Jack livery, and then the game breaks on me. We qualify with worn engine components, we take engine penalties, we're at the back, our car's not very quick, so I'm not really expecting too much from this race either, from the back of the grid. So, yeah, maybe like my favourite F1 driver, Jenson Button, maybe on this year's game, Silverstone's just going to be my bogey circuit. I don't know. I hope not in later seasons, but let's go to the grid then, put all these issues behind us, and just go out there and give it hell.
Welcome along then to Great Britain and the Great Silverstone Circuit for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone Circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula 1 faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Now, I want to talk to you about Valtteri Bottas. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Albon, Sainz, Ocon, Kvyat, and Lance Stroll, Gasly, Bottas, Kimi Raikkonen, and Ricciardo, Norris, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen, and George Russell, Aitken, Latifi, Giovinazzi, and the owner-driver rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Right, so here we are then at the very back of the grid for our first home Grand Prix. This is really not the way I wanted to start this Silverstone race, but like I said, fairy tales rarely happen in Formula 1, really, so we're going to have to make the most of it from the back. Fresh engine. It's a one-stop, though, which doesn't give me much hope of any strategic masterclass. Soft tire to the mediums. I don't know how quick the car is, honestly, so let's just go out there and, like I said, give it hell and try our best as we go to 5 red lights to the British Grand Prix. Round number 12 of this season is underway as the lights are out and we're away at a very doom and gloom Silverstone circuit, and the Williams car of Latifi very slow, got caught up behind his teammate, I think that was, as we go down the inside of our own new teammate, Jack Aitken, and he actually makes a good start there on the left-hand side, but we're going to find the room to dive down the inside of Russell and also Kevin Magnussen on the left-hand side. We try to squeeze him, but he goes for a massive dive on his own teammate there. So the Haas cars aggressive as ever with each other. So we're going to have to stick behind, just get a good slingshot exit and try and maybe make it 3 wide as we go towards Brooklands and then into Luffield. Can we make a pass? There's a bit of space, but not too much. We'll go for it on the curb. A bit of contact with K-Mag. It's all rather frosty. Magnussen squeezed out Grosjean. We go the long way round. We keep going. We use ERS on the exit as well, and it might be a fantastic little move here on the outside of the field. We've done what Verstappen did in 2019, I think it was, and we've made the move on the outside of the field. Great stuff there. And so we're up into P16 then. Really hard fought opening lap there, but some good work to get ahead of both Haas cars. I don't know what their pace is going to be like. Obviously, before my game broke, we did qualify pretty high, but in the one shot, we were pretty slow. I know we had worn engine components, but I still was quite surprised we're down in P20, so I'm not too sure what the race pace is going to be like. We've also got a few faster cars behind us, a la Giovinazzi. Well, only one fast car, Giovinazzi, basically. Obviously, last race, we saw how quick the Italian was, and you can see how slow I am right now, hitting a wash of understeer that was in the village section. And so as we go down to Brooklands again, in the same place we overtook the Haas cars, they're now mounting an attack, and they've absolutely done me and embarrassed me in a straight line. We used no ERS though, and we were in standard mixture, so that's also fair play, but they did also waltz past us very quickly. They had DRS, I think, it's lap 3, but still, it was a little bit disconcerting to see them just go by very quickly. We're going to be on the back of them. They're still going at it, side by side, through cops there, and I think that's Grosjean. No, Magnussen's been squeezed out, so Grosjean got the best of Magnussen, and we're going in with the ERS, a little bit used, a blip of it into Magda Beckett's, made the overtake, as Jeff was literally encouraging me to use the overtake mode, and we did use it to good effect, and got past one of the Haas's. Can we get past this second one? DRS open. Doesn't look likely there, as Grosjean is just enough ahead. And you can see what I was talking about with the whole, we've improved the car by adding downforce, but that's unfortunately added drag to our car. And because we haven't upgraded the engine in a while, our car's not particularly quick in a straight line anymore as well. It's still pretty quick. It's faster than both the Renault cars, the Renault and the McLaren, the Renault powered cars. And I think we're still the quickest Honda power. But the Ferrari engines, they're just too quick. We're waiting for that patch to come in to make them way more realistic. But as it stands, the Haas cars are just much quicker than us in a straight line, which is a real shame to see, as well as Giovinazzi's Alfa Romeo. And so Gio passes Magnussen, and the man who was so quick last episode and was instrumental in us getting those amazing 2 points last episode, he's now on the back of us maybe, and I'm going to do probably the exact same thing, or I'm going to try and do the exact same thing we did at Austria, which is, you can see here, we're going a little bit wide. I'm not going to use any ERS or rich mix here, and I'm just going to let Giovinazzi pass me, because I was already feeling like the car didn't have much pace in it. So I'm going to pray to the F1 gods this tactic works again. Let's use Giovinazzi as a horse and carriage and try and pull ourselves up the order. We're already quite far behind though. So honestly, the only thing right now is going to be getting ahead of Grosjean. But you can see on the mini-map, there's a massive gap ahead of Grosjean. And the pack ahead, they're pushing each other so hard. Like it's a pack of 2 McLarens, 2 Renaults, two Alpha Tauris, the other Alpha Mare of Raikkonen, they're all so closely matched that they're kind of keeping each other honest and pushing away as a pack, as a kind of DRS train of their own. So this is going to be a very difficult home race. And so, like I said, I hope not in later seasons, but at least this season, a lot like my favourite F1 driver Button, this may be a bogey sort of, you know, forgettable Grand Prix for us in a way. It already kind of has been in a sense of, you know, we hit those game issues, and so it was a shame we're going to lose out on the sponsor bonus due to the lack of practice laps and so on. But the pace right now is not that promising. Although right now there is a battle going on ahead of us, so we'll talk about that. Giovinazzi versus Grosjean, and we're going to slip it down the inside. Very opportunistic there. Nice overtake on Grosjean, to be honest there. Catching him unawares as he was battling Giovinazzi still. And as we... massive tax upper there. Keeping the car going in a straight line, even with the front downforce upgrade. Because I had to compromise a little bit on the downforce with the wings I was running on the setup to make sure we weren't so slow in a straight line. It means that I'm not really feeling the major downforce upgrade, to be frankly honest. So as Valtteri Bottas then goes out of the Grand Prix lap number 10, so one free position there, so we'll be up into P16. But the highest position we could maybe hope for in this race is P15. I think we're going to be in a race-long battle with Giovinazzi, which means we're going to get none of our bonuses on sponsors. We're going to get 0 extra cash at the end of this episode. You know, obviously we'll get the weekly income that we get on the base level, which is fine, but we're not going to get a juicy 800k bonus, which was amazing to get last episode. So it's a tough Grand Prix. This is very much, if Zandvoort was a reality check, this is like a reality slap in the face of, like, you know, you were looking good, you had cash and whatnot, and now, you know, go back to your place, the car's slow, we've got no cash or little cash to work with. So, yeah, apologies for sounding so, you know, down and negative about this, but obviously you can see where I'm coming from in terms of we were at a certain place of making through into Q2, and then our game broke, and it, you know, basically just went backwards from there, basically. I don't know how the race would have differed. Can you imagine if we started P14 or 13, what it was? You know, just behind Leclerc, Albon, and Bottas. If we were able to follow those AI cars through that were much faster, use them as they overtook people, use that space to overtake, we could have maybe somehow finessed our way up into at least a top 12 position to get some sponsor bonus and such. But at least a bit of good news here. Look at our pit stop time. Brilliant stuff. Our team has jumped Giovinazzi in the pit lane. So at least that's one piece of good stuff. 1.9 pit stop there. Good stuff there from the Aarava Archer Racing pit crew. And so we're up ahead of Giovinazzi in P15. Although, to be fair, I didn't want to be ahead of him because we're about 4 seconds behind Norris in that pack, and the only way I can catch up to them is using Giovinazzi to pull me along like we did in Austria. So we're going to move through on to the next lap, same bit of tarmac on the circuit into Brooklands, and you can see on purpose going a little bit wide in Lee Mixture, letting him through. I know it looks really, really odd. It's not what you do in real life, but obviously it is a video game, it's the F1 game, and so this is the best tactic for us to try and do anything to claw back some time on Norris there and join that pack. I have very high hopes, but obviously we'll see. We'll see about that, because as we start doing that tactic, and to be fair, I was going faster. I was setting personal best lap times behind Giovinazzi, and we were starting to creep up on Norris a little bit. So it's working a little bit. As we go on through this Grand Prix then, Norris is up ahead, up the road in what is P14, I believe that is then, if we're P16 and Gio's P15. Ahead of him is Ricciardo, then Raikkonen flying pretty high. Then you've got the two Alpha Tauris sandwiching Lance Stroll's Racing Point car, and then ahead of them are Ocon and then Carlos Sainz in kind of no man's land. Albon in even further no man's land, and then ahead of Albon, I believe Sergio Perez is doing absolute bits in the top 5 there. So Racing Point have really become one of almost a top 4 team in our career mode. You know, kind of almost like real life in a way. Obviously, they're yet to kind of fully prove themselves, but you know, getting quite lofty there for Sergio Perez. Meanwhile, some great fighting going on between Ocon and the Alpha Tauri of I think that was Fiat, but I can't be too sure there. And Lance Stroll right on the back of him now, but you can see what I mean by these guys are so close. I mean, look at this. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars all within one camera shot. And so it was actually more frustrating than anything to see how close that was. Because usually I'd be quite happy to see the AI so close fighting each other, but because they're so close and because we're, just behind them, I'm like, we could be part of that pack. We could be having a mental midfield fight with all these guys during a Grand Prix like this, but because we haven't had those upgrades come in, we're just, not quite there. But like I said, we've got the rear major downforce upgrade coming in, hopefully, and a major engine upgrade coming in for next episode. So hopefully that is going to be a big uptick boost to close up the gap to this midfield fight that we want to be a part of, and hopefully also just other circuits suit our car better. I feel like Hungary probably will suit our car more than here, because this circuit is kind of a mixture of everything. You need high speed downforce, you need power, and you also need good low speed because you've got sections like Village. Whereas Hungary, you've got mostly just kind of corners like Monaco. It's Monaco without the barriers, and we went quite well at Monaco. So I'm hoping we can go well at Hungary. So that's kind of what's keeping me going at this stage. Right now as well, what's keeping me going is also this fight with Giovinazzi, which to be fair, was actually quite nice. It was keeping me honest, I was having to push every single lap to keep up with him. But now lap 21, he was pulling me along, but now we're losing both times. So now the plan I was doing was working, but now on lap 21, 5 laps to go, he's hitting tyre wear. So now I'm going to try and overtake him, because now the horse and carriage plan, it's gone down the bin. It's not really catching us any more time. So now it's trying to just do the best job we can of overtaking him and doing the job. But you can see I let him through on purpose again on lap 22, because I overtook him on lap 21, and straight away I realised I literally have no pace against him. So I have to wait till the last lap to overtake him. That's the only way I'm going to get P15 and secure it indefinitely for them, the Grand Prix. So I wait and wait and wait until the last lap of the Grand Prix. So here we go, last lap of glory. It's not going to be the same conditions as Lando Norris has done in real life, but it's our last lap charge nonetheless for P15 in this Grand Prix, and trying to just get some pride for the team of finishing ahead of the cars we can definitely beat in this Grand Prix. So in Village, keeping as tight as we can, but this corner especially, this left-hander, we were losing so much time to every car, every lap, because they just got on the power so quick. But we opened DRS, ERS, so much to use on the bottom right there. Rich Mix going for the entire lap here, around the outside, and we'll go side by side with Giovinazzi. Gives us a good old fight there into the apex of Brooklands, but then into Luffield. We get the job done on the exit though, a little bit wide there, midway through and on the exit, and Giovinazzi comes through. I'm sure he's using ERS power now, and so he pulls alongside us, and so we're side by side yet again through the old turn 1. Cops still side by side. He gets the jump on us so fine there, and towards Magdebeckers we're back down to P16. So it's actually a really titanic battle happening with Antonio Giovinazzi for this P15 position. So if anything, at least we're having a nice fun fight in a way at the very end of this Grand Prix for a position here, not for points but a position at least. So we open DRS now. It's the last sector, ERS, Rich Mix down the inside, and we will get the job done. So it's been a very hard and testing home Grand Prix. It's tested my patience in the car of doing this entire Grand Prix and only amounting to P15, but you have these races in Formula 1, especially if you're a lower team, a new up-and-coming team trying to make their way up the grid in Formula 1. So we'll just bite the bullet and hope that we have a much better race next time out. But that was a very tough pill to swallow. We got the driver of the day, although, apparently, so we did something right, I guess.
So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. Ant, talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Alright, so there we have it. That was a very testing Grand Prix, like I said. We beat Aitken by a decent margin. He came in P20. It was hard to really tell how his pace was compared to Schumacher's, because honestly our car was just so slow around this circuit, which was a real shame. I'm hoping it's a circuit thing, because it really did. It like physically felt so bad at some points on that race compared to Austria, where clearly we didn't have pace, but I actually felt like I was able to push the maximum out of the car, and I felt like I actually had fun at Austria driving that to the limit. Whereas at Britain, I can't lie, there was a lot of laps that I cut out there where nothing was happening, and I just really wasn't enjoying my time around every corner. So tough times, but to be fair, we did not move up or down the constructor's position. You know, Alfa Romeo didn't gain any points points on us, and Renault and AlphaTauri just gained a few, I think, points on us. So, in the end, it was quite good damage limitation. It could have been a lot worse in terms of our rivals scoring a lot of points, as they have done in previous races, kind of like almost Raikkonen has done twice now at Spain and Austria. So, we lost out to Ocon in the teammate fight, which is a shame, but I'm hoping, like I said, at Hungary, we can come back punching and swinging, a lot like my driver's doing right there on screen, and we can try and swing that rivalry back through into our favour. Unfortunately, though, like I said, we get a whopping 0 on the bonus. So we went from 800k bonus last episode to 0 today. A big part of that was we were never going to get 2 of those bonuses anyway for finishing in the top 12 or in the points. But also at the same time, we lost out on that big bonus from our new sponsor because I did not do 100 laps, nowhere near close, because I obviously lost all my practice progress due to that game break. So all round, a very tough episode for us. But hopefully it's one of those things where this is a low point and we really bounce back from it in style for the next few episodes and come back even stronger. 2 upgrades next episode. Really hope those don't fail. Please pray for me in the comments they don't. If you did enjoy the episode nonetheless, though, guys, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy us today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.